This is how to play The First Cut is the Deepest by Cat Stevens. Let me give you a quick demo before we go for the full tutorial. The first cut is the deepest, baby I know. The first cut is the deepest. When it comes to being lucky, she's cursed. When it comes to loving me, she's worst. Now I'm going to be covering how to do all of that, including the intro picking that is played through the verses on the Cat Stevens version, but I'll be covering that picking at the end of this tutorial, and I'm going to start with teaching the basic chords, and this version is in the key of G. And I also want to use this lesson to cover two other famous versions and how they modulate the key to suit the singer's voice. So, as a quick summary of that, this song is in the key of G, which is the Cat Stevens version, which uses the chords G major, D major, C, and then goes back to the D chord. Otherwise known as the 1, 4 and 5 in the key of G. G is 1, C is 4, and D is 5, because we get those chords and their letter names from the major scale, and the first note of a G major scale is G. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth note is C, and the fifth note, you guessed it, it's D. You don't need to know any of that. You need to just remember that the 1, 4 and 5 in the key of G is G, C and D, and remember that sound. Okay, I'm now going to quickly play the other famous Sheryl Crow version. She covered it in the 90s, and that version is very famous. You've probably heard of it. It's in the key of D. Let me play this for you. And if I just quickly sing the chorus, but I'll have to do it much lower because this is in a different key for my voice. First cut is the deepest, baby I know. Okay, so same song, same thing's happening, totally different chords. And finally, which is probably a little bit too confusing, but I'm going to mention it anyway, the Rod Stewart version, the most famous one, is in the key of C. And this is where we would normally cover this stuff, which is at around level 5, level 6 of my beginner's course. Covered much more thoroughly in my intermediate course. We have the C chords, F and G, and the first cut is the deepest, baby I know. The first cut is the deepest. So importantly, the resulting sound is the same. It sounds like the same song. Different chords making up the same kind of sound. That is keys, ladies and gentlemen that are watching right now. Musical keys are the biggest thing that will transform your guitar playing, which is essentially knowing which chords go together and how they sound when they do go together. So we're going to focus. Let's learn the Cat Stevens version first of all, and we'll finish off with a recap over the rest of it. But that is the most useful thing that you will learn in this tutorial, I guarantee you, although it's a wonderful song to learn. And the chord sheets for each of those versions are in the descriptions below, and by you following those chord sheets and having a strum through them, you will understand more about how music works, how guitar works, and about the most important, the only bit of music theory that is absolutely crucial for any guitar player, no matter what your goals are, is musical keys and which chords go together. So, Cat Stevens version. The verses, even though they're played kind of higher, are a G chord, D, C, and D. Okay? So that would be 1 to 5, 4, and 5. And that's the bulk of this chord sequence, whether you're on a verse or a chorus. To make the strumming pattern a little bit more interesting there, we would have 1 and 2 and that per chord. 1 and 2 and that. Down, 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 up. And we'd make beats 2 and 4 a little bit louder. 1 and 2 and that, 3 and 4 and that. 1 and 2 2 and a 3 and 4 and just relax on the other strums, just make them a little bit quieter rather than going too loud on the 2 and 4. A demo with this chord sequence, which is the majority of this song. 2, 3, 4. The only difference to that chord sequence is at the end of each verse, the last bit before each chorus. So, for example, baby, I'll try to love again, but I know. So that was G, C, and then D, and we're on the D for longer, which, if you know the song well, that you will know that already. And that is something that you have to know the song a little bit well. You have to be able to sing along to it in your mind and know the lyrics a little bit for this way of learning songs to work. It's just paramount. To be able to follow a chord sheet, you need to know how it goes. And the answer to how does it go is listen to the song and copy what you hear, essentially. Let's just have a quick strum through of that. So from the start of the song, through the verse to the end of the chorus, and then we'll cover the little picking bit, which is kind of an intermediate triads workout, basically. From the G chord, and we're going to go straight into verse 1 in 2, 3. I would have given you all of my heart, 2, 3, but there's someone who's torn it apart. And she's taken just all that I have. But if you wanna try to love again, baby, here we go, it changes. And a C, then a D. Stay on the D and chorus in 2, 3, 4. The first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know the first cut is the deepest. When it comes to being lucky, she's cursed. When it comes to loving me, she's worse. There's that slight change again. But when it comes to being in love, she's first. That's how I know the first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know the first cut is the deepest. Okay? So really, back to that one chord, back to the G. The only thing to be keeping track of is just when we go to that C chord as the second chord. Other than that, G, D, C, D. And that is why I would recommend learning this song in different keys to get used to that 1, 4, 5 and get used to musical keys. But the other really amazing thing in this song is its use of triads for that introduction and for the verses. This is in the Cat Stevens version only. There's plenty of live versions of him playing it where you can see him playing it this way as well. But this is a D major chord shape, but we're playing it at the 9th fret, which you can see really clearly because I've got these dot inlays now on my Faith guitar. And that is just a higher version of the G chord. So although this is a D shape, this is actually a G chord. Which, even though it's at a different pitch, this is a triad way, so only playing 3 notes out of the chord way of playing a G. The second shape is this. This is a D chord. And then this is a C chord. So this one is at the 5th fret, 7 and 7. And then this way is at the 3rd fret, 5th and 5th. Cat Stevens plays it with his 1st, middle and 3rd fingers, so that's what I would recommend we do. And just having a strum through each of them. So that's the G chord with a D shape. D chord and the C chord. And then for each of those chords, we pick string 3, 2, 1, 2 for each chord. Now it's the third finger that we really want to keep down at all times and really get this sliding thing happening. So what may happen when you first start playing this is we get that really distinctive kind of space. Okay, and to avoid that, keep your third finger down at all times and have it just sliding between each of them rather than lifting off. For example, and a little bit more up to speed. Okay, and those are triads, and we covered triads really thoroughly in my intermediate course. Learn them in different keys, learning shapes all over the neck, and we're basically using caged shapes here, as in the cage system. These two use notes from the A shape, and then this one used the D shape, which could be played like that, but that's really nasty. But that is the gateway to more advanced guitar playing, and absolutely essential if this is a song that you love, that we start to add those little bits into your playing and for your guitar development. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the other tutorials at an intermediate level that are on my website at andyguitar.co.uk and here on YouTube if you're wanting some more help with this style of guitar.